are not aware of about this. So for Asha again, can I say this is Asha is a gift of the people who are living outside of India to their home?
You could. So I would say the money, in general, resources have been flowing from the global south to the global north for many centuries.
True.
And so now, money is flowing back from the global north to the global south, so there's no reason to necessarily feel that there's a dependence being created.
True.
You're just returning resources that were taken up. It's maybe something of a, controversial viewpoint. But the other thing you have to remember is that, yes, it is true that these community-based organizations that we support were not elected by the people, and India is a democracy, and you could ask yourself what gave them the right to decide these are the programs they're going to support and not these other programs. How do we choose that? And they're not answerable, they're not accountable to the people like in the way that the government is.
True.
But you have to realize that almost all the organizations that we work with have two sides to them.
Yeah.
There's the side that tries to help the people in the form of some form of activism that makes sure that the government actually brings the resources to them. The government is held accountable in some way for some of the programs they're supposed to be doing. And at the other side, they help the government. So they're always in tension with the government in a way, because in some ways they are activists and holding the government accountable for certain things. And on the other hand, the government relies on them because the government is a big mammoth, sort of a big bureaucratic engine, and it's very hard sometimes for it to sort of try things out.
Yeah, true.
And so they rely on these smaller community-based organizations to experiment with some social programs because they are in touch with the people there, much closer in touch. And the word experiment doesn't sound good, but with the participation of the community. So in a way, the money that's being sent is facilitating some of these things that the government would find difficult to do in the first place. And you have to remember that some of the money and some of the activities of the organization is to hold the government accountable, and the government improves because of that. So it shouldn't be thought of as something that's anti-government. Neither can it be thought of as allowing the government off the hook. Because they're doing both things. So that's one way to think about it.
And it's not a good thing, because it's not a bad thing actually, because we are a democratic country, so we can ask, we have right. This is the base of our country. I don't know why people get it wrong. What is
about
wrong
activism?
about activism? Because then why is the democrat, like, either we shouldn't be democratic. If we are democratic, we have to have a right to ask something or to ask certain thing, because we elected them. They work for us. And meanwhile, we have to support them for running things all together. We have to be. So it's not I don't know why it's otherwise people will term you liberal or left. But that is so. I'm volunteer of Asha, and I have been working here for maybe 4 or 5 months. But the people who don't know about Asha, and they don't know how it works and why every time on my Facebook, Asha for Education. So I want you to explain a little bit about Asha, how it works, where the money goes, and how because everybody is saying we are educating kids, but there is no actually structured system that we can say. So I wanted to ask you how Asha works and what is the structure of Asha and how we are helping kids. We are here and kids are sitting in India back at home. So how we are helping them?
So Asha is actually a non-profit organization registered here in the United States. It has multiple chapters in multiple towns, a lot of them at university towns. It collects money through donations, and all the people working at Asha are all volunteers, unpaid volunteers. They are not just, not only is it unpaid when you make things called site visits. So we actually go to the projects that we support in India, and visit them and make reports. All of those travels are also unpaid.
Oh,
So basically, most expenses and everything, volunteers try to bear on their own. I'm not saying all of the expenses, but certainly none of us is paid.
yeah.
So our overhead is extremely small, and Charity Navigator, which is a charity rating engine, has been consistently rating us, as being one of the top charities. We've had 4 stars. Recently, several times, we were what they call a perfect 100 charity, which means 100% score for everything. We still have a 100% score for transparency, because the organization is completely transparent about what discussions, how the proposals from India come. They are from sort of small grassroots community-based organizations that are deeply rooted in their communities and have participatory governance. The people from there have a say in what is it that the organization is working on and how it works on. And they are part of the organization usually. And they typically support schools, and schools are considered kind of a nucleus for catalyzing kind of changes, socioeconomic changes that in that community, right? So, and you're empowering people by not just the children themselves, of course, but also somehow the parents and everybody around the school, right? So these are independent community-based organizations that we support, and each one, they all send in proposals. There is an ASHA portal where anybody can send in proposals. It isn't a centralized thing. Different independent in different parts of India, community-based organizations can all send in proposals, and the chapters, ASHA chapters here, we can go and look up those proposals and discuss them within the chapter. All the discussion minutes and everything is out there for people to look at.
All right.
The budgets of the organizations, what discussions took place, reports that the organizations gave, site visit reports, volunteers who go from here and visit every year. Once the funding has started, they will go there once every year and start visiting these organizations. All of that is online. So as a volunteer, if you are a person who wants to volunteer for ASHA, one thing you need to understand is that it's a completely democratic organization. So any volunteer can walk out of the street and go into a meeting, ASHA meeting, and get involved in these discussions on projects and decide, and on the decisions. All decisions are taken by vote. The votes are all public, also part of the transparent governance. And the idea is that things are done through almost a democratic process, not only in the chapters who send the money there, but also at the grassroots organization itself, right? So this kind of democratic, flat governance is encouraged everywhere.
So, as you said that people can propose their thing that they want, they have this list they want from us. So, anyone can send it, or
Anyone. So the only thing that you have to remember is that the Indian law, in order for foreign exchange to be received by the organization, they need to report to the to the tax people on a regular basis, and they need to have something called an FCRA certification, which is foreign exchange, so that allows them to receive foreign exchange. So, and this has certain rules, and the organization has to be registered in a certain way, and it has to, so we will not send money to an organization that doesn't have an FCRA certification.
so we are, ASHA people are sending money to any organization around any place of India just to educate kids if they don't have money.
Yes.
So if you are listening, if you are having any trouble teaching kids and you don't have any financial, so you can send us, you can go to an ASHA page and you can make a request, and so yeah, this will